بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله، يا إمام الرحمة، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين، يا علي بن أبي طالب، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد، يا قرة عين الرسول، يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله، اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي، أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي، أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين، يا زين العابدين، يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي، أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وسي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا سادتي وموالي إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي. يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين، ولعن الله أعداء الله الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين. آمين رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم الشريف. I begin in the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful, the one who has created everything at its most perfection in this universe. And may the peace and blessing of Allah Almighty to His beloved messenger, the peak of creation, the symbol of humanity, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and his immaculate progeny Ahlul Bayt alayhim salawatullah, especially the leader of our time, the awaited Savior, Al-Imam Al-Mahdi. May Allah hasten his reappearance and make us amongst the dedicated and sincere servants of Imam alayhi salam. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I want to talk about nadhr, the oath. As you know, we do have a lot of people that they do nadhr. Sometimes this happens during the month of Muharram or the month of Ramadan, or special occasions that sisters or brothers do nadhr, and then they come and they perform their nadhr in the mosque or in their houses. But there is a question, is their nadhr valid or not? We have to see what kind of nadhr and oath is validated and what kind is not validated. What kind of nadhr is obligated on me and what kind of nadhr is not obligated on me. As you know, there are some nadhr that the people do according to the culture. For example, they turn on some candles and the ladies, for example, sit around and they turn on some candles and they say, if Allah fulfill my hajat or my supplications, my du'as, I will, for example, slaughter a sheep. This kind of nadhr Islamically has no value. So it's not obligated on you. Or for example, someone calls the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and says, you know what? By Imam Hussein alayhi salam, I will slaughter a sheep or a cow if Allah fulfills my hajat. This is also not valid Islamically. Or some people do like this Dastarkhan, they have like a gathering and there's a, for example, table or something that they sit around and then they get a piece of bread and they say, if Allah fulfill my hajat, for example, I will do this or I will do that. None of these things are Islamic. I understand that you have all those belief and this and that, they're all good. Nothing is wrong with the belief to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to Hazrat Abul Fazl Abbas. It's very good to have a belief, but in order to perform your nadhr and in order that the nadhr becomes obligated or wajib on you, you need to follow the rules. The rules tells us that the nadhr must be done by the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means nadhr is only for Allah. No one else is involved. So if you don't mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the nadhr will be cancelled, will be rejected, will not be accepted. So the first thing is nadhr. And then you can also for mustahab, for recommended things, you can actually call the name of the Prophet or the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, just for the holiness or the pure, just to make your nazar more, for example, accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make it much holier. Then you can use the name of Prophet Imam Hussein or Imam Ali alayhi salam, but the main thing in nazar is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it must be pronounced verbally. For example, you have to say Lillahi, I do for Allah, if Allah fulfills my hajat, for example. So this is number one, that the nadhr must be performed and must be done just by the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the compassionate, the merciful. Number two, we cannot do nadhr on forbidden things, such as haram stuff, haram things. For example, someone says, if, for example, Allah fulfills my hajat, for example, I will go, for example, to a beach. So going to the beach while there are people, naked people are staying over there, looking at them is haram, right? So you cannot do that. Or for example, sometimes some people do nadhr, and by their nadhr, they hurt somebody else, or they hurt themselves. For example, they say, if Allah fulfill my hajat for 3 days, I'm not going to drink water. So if you don't drink for 3 days, if you don't drink water for 3 days, you're going to get sick, God forbid. Or some people do nadhr on their babies or their children. I saw a man that he came to me and he said, I did nadhr that if Allah fulfills my hajat, I will not give any water to my baby boy at the day of Ashura. I said, this is a haram things. You did something forbidden. So it's not accepted by Allah. Allah doesn't like it. You bother your kid, your baby. It's not right. Or for example, other things, whatever is forbidden in Islam, whatever is haram in Islam, whatever is harmful in Islam, you cannot do nadhr on those things. So logically, it must be also acceptable that whatever you do, when you actually talk to your Lord and you ask Allah if He fulfills your hajat, you will do something halal, not haram. For example, someone says, if Allah fulfills my hajat, I will slaughter a pig, and I distribute the meat of the pork or the pig to the people. This nadhr is haram because the forbidden things are involved. So this is another thing that we have to think about it. The other thing that actually is important about the nadhr is this, the days that we do nadhr, especially about fasting. We have to make sure that those days, the fasting should not be haram. For example, we are not allowed to fast at the day of Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Qurban, or Eid Ramadan. These 2 days fasting is haram. I cannot say like this, you know what? I'm gonna fast at the day of Eid al-Adha if Allah fulfills my hajat. I cannot do that because that day fasting is haram. Or for example, you said that, you know what, I'm gonna pray 100 rak'at namaz instead of dhuhr prayer, but I'm not gonna perform my dhuhr prayer. I'm gonna pray 100 rak'at namaz instead of dhuhr prayer if Allah fulfills my hajat. This is also haram because your wajib is namaz zuhr, the noon prayer. This is important. If you want to fast while you're traveling, as you know, one of the condition of traveling is this, that when you travel, you cannot fast. But if you specify the day, you make a special day. For example, you say July 10th, I'm gonna fast. If I am even traveling at that day, I will still fast. Then that time, that fast will become wajib on you. It will become obligated on you. So this is very important. But if you don't make it clear, if you don't actually think about it, okay, if I'm gonna, for example, fast, but you didn't mention the day, exact date, and you didn't mention about traveling, so that day, if you travel, you can break your fast. So this is about fasting. And also, if we do nadhr that we give money to special faqir. For example, there's a person, his name is Ahmad, and he's poor. And nazr is obligated on me. And I said to Allah, if Allah fulfills my hajat, I will give $100 to Ahmad. So when Allah fulfills your hajat, you have to give that $100 to Ahmad. You cannot give that $100 to his brother or his son or his wife or somebody else. So you have to give it to Ahmad, because when you did the nazr, you mentioned the name of Ahmad. So this is important. Also, in nazr, we have to be careful that the nazr should be done. When we do the nazr, and when we mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that time the nazr will be obligated on us. When it's obligated on you, then you have to do it. It's just like praying, fasting, going to the ziyarat of Hajj. These things are wajib, that you have to go. If you're qualified, for example, to go to the Hajj, if you are mustati', then you have to go to the ziyarat of Hajj. You cannot neglect that. You cannot just say, you know what, I'm not going to go. No, it's not up to you. You have to go if you're qualified, and if it's wajib on you, you have to go to Hajj. And then namaz, fasting, these things are wajib. Nazr is exactly like that. So if you don't do your nazr, if you don't perform your nazr intentionally, then you have to pay the fine. The fine is exactly like the month of Ramadan. What were you doing in the month of Ramadan? If you were not fasting intentionally in the month of Ramadan, you had to fast for 2 months. Or you had to pay food of 60 poor people. Or you had to free a slave, which you don't have it now. So the last option is feeding 60 people. In the nazr, the maraji', the ahkam, the fatawa for the maraji' are a little bit different. Some of the maraji' says 10 days, 3 days fasting, 10 people, feeding 10 people. And some of the maraji' says no, that you have to pay for 60 people food, and also, or you do 2 months fast. So this is the fine for the breaking nadhr. If I don't do the nadhr intentionally, I have to pay kafara, and that's the kafara is exactly like the month of Ramadan. But if I forgot the nadhr, if it's not intentionally, if I forget it, for example, I do the nazr that today I have to recite 2 rak'at namaz qurbatan ila Allah. But today I forgot that to do it, and tomorrow I'll remember it because it was not intentionally. So at that point, I don't have to do the kafara, but I have to do the nazr as soon as I remember and as soon as I get time. So this was about the nazr. So please, brothers and sisters, before you do the nazr, make sure you do, all the ahkams and Islamic rules about it. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.